So before I introduce our next speaker, I have to ask you guys, when you're in school, what was the minimum grade you were looking for? Was it an A? Anybody? A? B? Well, some people set their sights as C-. So our last speaker is making an attempt to make it out of his speech and debate class with at least a C-. By practicing his 12-minute long tournament speech here at Encinitas Toastmasters, hopefully he will achieve his goal. He has given us another solar-led speech, and this one may be the most miserable one yet. Get ready. Dear Professor Malinus, please don't fail him. Please, please, please welcome Brion Case at his second take of We're the Gods Now. We're Gods Now,
I'm sorry, okay? I did not choose to be this way. I know I got a skin condition, probably going to be bald in 20 years, and my personality, it's an acquired taste according to my dad. But you know what? It's not my fault. Okay, I mean, Mom, Dad, who's not here, but it's your guys' fault. You passed all this stuff down to me through your genes. All right, so blame them. So you know, wouldn't it be cool if I could like delete all of my imperfections so I could finally be awesome? Or better yet, what if my parents could, fix themselves so they don't have to pass their nonsense down to me? I bet everybody here secretly wants this too. Well, what if I were to tell you that as of July of 2025, this year, some lovely British gentlemen have made this possible. SYN-HG, which is short for Synthetic Human Genome, is a new project that will give us the unmoderated ability to make the human genome exactly the way we want it. Now listen, your height, hair color, body odor, that's one thing, but even your principles, passion, and personality can be prospectively programmed by your parents now. Seriously. For better or maybe worse, we have now acquired the tools of creation, the tools of gods. We are gods now. Sounds pretty awesome, huh? Am I right, huh? But first, let's go into three main points. First, how we historically arrived here, how this newfangled tech works, and implications, what this means for us, like are we doomed or not type stuff. So, for the context, I am going to go to two pieces of context. The lead up historically to CRISPR and how it's different from SYN-HG, because that's a common misconception, guys. So, nature tells us it was not supposed to be this way. For millions of years, the reality for humans was, you're stuck with the genes you got. Nature always has the final say. We didn't like this rule. As far back as 3,000 years ago, the Greek Spartans tried to make the strongest military in the world by throwing their weakest babies into a pit full of lions. Old-fashioned much? But even as recently as the 20th century, David Smith's 1989 documentation of a very controversial diagnosis known as feeble-mindedness, which resulted in the forced sterilization of over 400,000 people, biologically barring them from reproducing, it tells us the rub of eugenics. It's this. We're scared of our own inferiorities, and if Mother Nature won't provide us the natural selection process necessary to give us our ideal selves, we must create our own natural selection process. But this is all silly, isn't it? I mean, listen, throughout all of this, it seems like we have no actual control over this gene situation. Infant humanity can throw a temper tantrum and sterilize whoever it wants, but at the end of the day, we can't control the outcome of what our brains, our bodies are going to be. These imperfections still persist eminently, and these imperfections still seem to be the final say of Mother Nature. Well, humanity is growing up and rebelling against its mother, but just you wait, because in the 21st century, humanity is about to hit puberty. CRISPR made headlines about 10 years ago for being able to change our genes. Kind of. Science analyst Marcy Gallo documents in 2017. In the 1970s, scientists found in our DNA what appeared to be nature's version of a disinfectant band-aid. Whenever, say, a virus would attach itself to our DNA, our immune system would employ these bacteria. They were nicknamed CRISPR bacteria that sort of function as a molecular scissors that would cut, erase, and replace nasty infected sections of DNA with brand new DNA. That's sexy as hell. But at the same time, later in 2012, scientists repurposed these bacteriums to start cutting, erasing, and replacing small excerpts of DNA within already living human beings. The changing of genes. It's pretty cool. Now listen, granted, CRISPR was limited. It could only edit small excerpts of DNA, and its access to the genome was very limited. But it could still give us cures for sickle cell disease as well as pest-resistant crops. That's not nothing, that's cool. That's very cool. But wait a minute. We still weren't independent from Mother Nature here. I mean, this whole CRISPR business was something nature already did inside of us before we even got involved. As independent as humanity wants to seem, it seems we're still living off Mother Nature's weekly allowance. Humanity's gone through puberty at this point, and one thing we know about adolescents is at some point they all run away from home. That's Mother Nature's house. Goodbye. Bye, Mom. So, enter SYN-HG. This tech is unlike anything we've discussed thus far, and all you need to know about it are two things. What happened 20 years ago, and what just happened this year. All right, time machine. Way back in 2001, scientists at the Human Genome Project came up with a bright idea. Can our computers map out all 3 billion nucleotides, or little pieces of code that comprise our genome? A feat that had never been done before? Turns out it could. The project was completed in 2003. And 20 years later, people at Cambridge and Oxford, led by Mr. Professor Jason Chin, had an even brighter idea. AI is currently so powerful that it can compute 300 trillion digits of pi and can pinpoint any one of those digits down to a T if asked. So can that same AI fully map out our genome, compute it, plug itself into an organic version of a 3D printer, and just make DNA? Turns out we can. This year, a full man-made chromosome has been printed out with every single nucleotide chosen to our preference. A feat that has never been done before. Researchers theorize that this can be used for pre-birth embryo modification, designer babies, human beings made with our preferences, which is really cool. Okay, now that's a whole new level of control we have over our world now. I mean, come on, guys. Listen, all the stuff I talked about before, that's fine and dandy, that's one thing. Using computers to fully map ourselves out and then printing out the next generation's worth of DNA while fully programming every digit, that's far beyond throwing babies into a pit, deleting people's reproductive organs, circumcising people's DNA with bacteria in our immune. That's gross. Okay, that's cool. New threshold. We have truly broken away from Mother Nature's house. We don't need her anymore. Bye, Mom. Well, what does this mean for us, though? Well, okay, obviously a heck of a lot, but I'm going to try and sort it into the good and the bad, in that order. Now, let's just look at a quote from Mr. Chin himself. And I quote, I'm not going to do like a British accent or anything. The information gained from synthesizing the human genome may be directly useful in generating a cure for almost any disease. I'm supposed to go over here called speech. This is huge, by the way. This is huge. What this means is that any cure or any disease that is genetically transferred now has a feasible cure. The only limit to this is what can be contained inside a genome. This means Down syndrome, Alzheimer's, Huntington's disease, every single mitochondrial disease that ever existed is now curable. The list just goes on. In 2024, the Yale School of Medicine did a genome-wide association survey where they found that DNA plays even more of a part in our personality than we had thought before. It has been calculated that DNA is 60% responsible for our personality. It's 60% determined. And yet this technology grants us 100% access to all of it. Genetically programming someone's personality can now be a thing we can do. Are we going to destroy ourselves? Seriously, we've become extra familiar with the idea of existential threats the last few years. AI, the thing that powers SYN-HG, it seems so far away from becoming a problem just a few years ago. If you told someone in 2015 what AI would become, the existential threat that it would evolve to in only a mere 10 years, you'd be seldom believed, you'd be laughed out of the room. After all, the best AI chatbot we had back then was EE Cleverbot. She was really stupid, all right? She was notoriously incomprehensible. All she did was intake what millions of users typed to her and via an algorithm, recombine it into somewhat coherent sentences. But how's that going to develop into a problem? SynHG is currently just a research project. So, might not seem like much right now, but history tells us that we are notoriously bad at predicting the unintended consequences of our own advancements. Because this is also new to us, it's hard to tell what this will do to our brains. But Neil deGrasse Tyson said something in an interview 10 years ago, rough in its estimation, but eerie in meaning. Our DNA is about 1% different from chimpanzees, which is what makes us so much smarter than them. Only 1%. The smartest chimpanzee ever recorded in human history is about as smart as our average 5-year-old. So imagine a species that's 1% in DNA different from us, where our smartest human who ever lived is about as smart as their average 5-year-old. A 1% DNA alteration is all that's required. If such a species were to coexist on Earth with us, who's to say they wouldn't just conquer us? Like we conquered Homo habilis, like we conquered the rest of the animal kingdom, like the Spartans and our scientists conquered our inferior versions of us. Listen, this SynHG thing, it represents a threshold that once crossed cannot be uncrossed. Today we detail 3 big things. How we arrived to SynHG, how SynHG works, and how SynHG leaves us with more solutions, but also many more problems. In other words, how we ran away from Mother Nature, made our own little world without her, and left more dumbfounded, confused, scared, and bewildered than we were before. Maybe we're just going to be fine. We're all going to be okay. The techno-salvation is just around the corner. We're too smart to destroy ourselves. This may be true, but our track record tells us that those implementing this techno-salvation, the politicians and scientists, should be held as responsible as possible. Failing that, there may be nobody coming over the hill to save us. You know, okay, Mom, you may have passed down acne, maybe baldness, and like a weird vibe down to me. That's fine. But you know what? That's fine. I'm okay with that, because if you weren't exactly who you were when you made me, and Dad wasn't exactly who he was when he made me too, I'm sure you remember that, then I probably wouldn't be here talking to all of you right now. You know, through butterfly effect, I wouldn't be me. And you know what? I like being me. No alterations of imperfections required. You know, maybe humanity should knock on Mother Nature's door again, see how she's doing, maybe. Give her a big hug. Because we can play gods all we want, but we are not gods. More beautiful than that.